Wars of the Rosies proudly presents the 770 Show. The views and opinions expressed by the 770 Show is not necessarily the views and opinions of Wars of the Rosies.
Good morning, New World Order, and welcome to the 770 Show on War of the Roses Network. Welcome, fiends and truth seekers alike. I am your host, Alter Ego DD Hash. Let us start this show with a practical occult or hidden teaching that will help you transform your life today. Actor and movie star Danny Trejo is quoted saying, "Every good thing that has happened to me in my life is a direct result from helping someone else." In all reality, service to others is the most selfish thing you can do in life. It is one of the most beneficial things that you can do for yourself. Start helping and serving people, and good things will come your way. Don't wait for a big role in the movie. Don't hold out for that supervisor position. Start where you are, where you live. It is simple as buying extra socks for the homeless or keeping a bag of dog food in the trunk of your car, and believe God for the increase. Actor Danny Trejo, before he became a movie star, lived a rough and tumble life, in and out of prison, and was a terror to his neighborhood. While he was in prison, he said to God, "God, if you let me die with dignity, I will serve humanity for the rest of my life." And God had other plans for him. Instead of being executed on death row, he was allowed to live out his life in service to others. When Danny Trejo got out of prison the last time in the late 60s, he was trying to learn how to become a good person. And so he thought, well, I'm going to go and help the elderly in my community with their trash cans every week. So he seen this elderly lady outside, and he strolled up to her, and she saw him, and she says, "No, Danny Trejo, no, Danny, no rob me, no rob me." He said, "Shut up, woman." And he went and took her trash can out. He went back to the garage, and she never took her eyes off of him, because she thought at any second now he was going to run to her garage and steal her lawnmower and sell it for drugs. But to her surprise, he went and got the other can of garbage and took it to the curb. He began doing this for all the elderly people in the neighborhood. One day he come home, and his mom says there's a nice double-breasted fake suede jacket that the elderly man on the corner gave you, the man that had arthritis and always had to kick his cans to the curb because he could not carry them. That's the day that Danny Trejo learned that by serving others, things would come back to you. Make connections through service, and your circle of influence and resources will grow. Treat everyone like a boss, even if he is the janitor. One day he may be your boss, and you already have a friend. And if he remembers your encouragement, how much it helped him be the person he is today, he will be more than willing to help elevate you in any way he can. The beast system commands its slaves into two groups, predators and prey. But this system, at the pinnacle of secular achievement, the more you eat, the hungrier you become. Insatiable appetite, leading to abuse, addiction, moral depravity, incarceration, and death. Never fulfillment, only perpetuating the slave-master system. The biggest problem we have today is the slaves do not want freedom for themselves and others. They want to be the new masters with slaves of their own, and are subservient to their own masters who feed them. If they cannot become the masters, they become the master's loyal slaves, the very house slaves that keeps everyone else on the matrix plantation. But service to others will give you the riches, maybe money, maybe not, but true riches, life, and freedom. Freedom worldwide. Before we start our study for today, I'd like to say the Gnostic Christos prayer. Unknown, mystery, who dwells above the Paroma, we honor your holy names. May your aeons unfold over the world, and may your work be accomplished within the world as it is accomplished in the Paroma. Provide us with the nourishment we require, and forgive us our imperfections as we try to forgive those who do us harm. Help us achieve the gnosis of light, and keep us safe from the clutches of the Archon, now and forever. Nos Christos Pistis Sophia. Amen. This is the 770 Show on War of the Roses Network. And we're back. Lesson number 1. Order of the Dragon, Liber 1. All material presented is property of Reverend Damon L. Gardner and the Central Illinois Esoteric Society, Order of the Dragon, used by express written permission. The views presented on this show are not necessarily the views of War of the Roses Network. Love, 36 and 6. Truth, 9, 200, 6, and 400. Knowledge, 20, 56, 30, 4, and 3. Universal sovereign law trumps all other law. 770. Code of the Dragon. Number 1. No man or woman, in or out of government, shall initiate force, threat of force, or fraud against my life and property. Any and all contracts I'm party to, not giving full disclosure to me, whether signed by me or not, are void at my discretion. Number 2. I may use force in self-defense against anyone that violates law number 1. Number 3. There shall be no exception to law number 1 and law number 2. Go forth with the love, truth, and knowledge towards perfection found in union with Spirit and risen Osiris. The Central Illinois Esoteric Society is devoted to the advancement of consciousness through natural law. Rex Lex Occultus. The hidden secret law is king. The Central Illinois Esoteric Society is an esoteric initiatic society, educating through traditional initiatic streams, making them practical and applicable in the 21st century. Knowledge Neo-Gnostic Transmission Number 1. Welcome to the Central Illinois Esoteric Society. Exoteric, the Outer Order 000O-O-. Open Meeting Postulant Section. For educational only purposes, personal and private study only. Thank you. The Central Illinois Esoteric Society's purpose is the advancement of mystical consciousness of humanity. We offer our combined knowledge, libraries, and fraternal love. Things we'll be covering in the weeks ahead include teachings on occulted knowledge and natural law, universal teachings from traditional and genuine initiatic streams throughout the ages. Everything from esoteric Christianity, alchemy, Gnostic studies, Kabbalah, Rosicrucianism, Martinist streams, to ceremonial magic, theurgy, temple grades, and more. None of the information provided violates my oath of secrecy to any organization or society in any way. We try to offer sincere seekers a vast knowledge base for extensive research and personal study over the entire catalog of occult sciences and esoteric studies, in hopes of advancing humanity's mystical consciousness. We accomplish this by introducing a system of learning and study that encourages systematic spiritual development and growth. Dear fratres and sorors, it is with great joy that we now count you as an honorary member of our order, and with all my heart I welcome you on the esoteric path. The Central Illinois Esoteric Society is composed of fratres and sorors like yourself, who aspire to knowledge of the hidden arts. The egregore safeguards the order by only allowing the transmission of such knowledge to be purely transmitted to those who are pure of heart, motivated by sincere desire to learn and apply universal law and occult sciences. This is a subtle but effective way to test your sincerity, desire, and purity, to see if you prove worthy of the mysteries that are about to be revealed. The angels who watch over our tradition will grant you the honor and opportunity to continue on the path of love, truth, and knowledge, morality, and freedom worldwide. If the opposite should be your lot, you will be excluded, perhaps forever, without even being conscious of it. The principle of repulsion. A man may think he just walks away from the information of the order, and it is very true on the conscious level, but it goes way deeper. In fact, your vibratory rate is subconsciously separating yourself from the knowledge, because you are not pure or conscious enough to receive it. One may not even be connected from the start, and others lose a connection without realizing it along the way. Today we're going to talk about spiritual development. What is spiritual development? All would-be aspirants on the path desire spiritual growth. But what is spiritual growth? More aware of what? More aware of your feelings, motivations, habits, patterns, attitudes, what we think, and why we think, what we think. Then from there, we move on to the trivium. What do I know? How deeply do I know what I know? How well can I communicate what I know? Spiritual growth requires effort, work, that one must do for self, on self, by self. No one can do it for you. Reading books, intellectual knowledge will not work alone. The seeker is guided but not carried. This is a rule of all orders of initiates. Anyone who walks the path indicated by the order, himself, herself, must work seriously and honestly. Just like AA, you must have the ability to be brutally and rigorously honest with yourself and with others. Only what a man or woman accomplishes by his or her own work becomes real to him or her. The labor of the rough stone, to ennoble and refine the profane man who resembles an untrimmed stone. Spiritual work calls for practices and routines which must be followed sincerely. Teachers can only point the way. The only person you can fool is yourself. One of the biggest things that holds us back from becoming more aware of our attitudes is the fear of what we will see if we truly look at ourselves in the mirror. Yet this revealing view must come about as part of this unfolding process. When you do become aware of your feelings, your motivations, your habits, your patterns, your attitudes, so on, you have the option of expressing them or not. When you are not aware of them, you express them unconsciously and automatically, and then wonder why you make such a mess of your life and your friendships. And if you don't see the patterns clearly in your own life, you won't see the patterns of others, and then you have to handle the negative feelings that arise from this. And this is not only energy consuming, but causes anxiety and depression as well. The whole evolutionary journey is from vagueness to full self-conscious awareness and certainty. You are to become more conscious and more aware. In the beginning, more conscious and more aware of your attitude, your habit, your patterns, your opinions, your disposition, but eventually more aware of your whole environment, not only internal things, but external things. Everything, everywhere. The evolutionary journey is traveled with the aid of a certain routine, known as Jacob's ladder or the mystic's ladder. The first rung of this ladder comes out of a book called The Wisdom of the Mystics, and it is the exercise of the practice of daily retrospection. When practicing this exercise, do not look for the negatives only, but also for the positives. For when you narrow the range on one end of your awareness, you narrow the range on the other side too. This is a good time to mention. You should buy a notebook so that you can write down these daily exercises as you get them, as well as notes from your lessons. You also want to write down impressions, ideas that come to you in meditation and dreams. It's not necessary to look back at these journal entries every day, and in fact it's even best if you wait and look at them a month later or 3 months later or 6 months later, because you're really wanting to look for patterns and look at a message through the patterns, not necessarily a message from the individual interpretations of each entry, but you want to look for patterns in the entries over a period of time, whether that's a month or 3 months or 6 months or even a year, and you'll be able to learn things about yourself and how to make better decisions by going over your diary and looking at it in that way instead of looking at every submission for some secret hidden knowledge. Now let's go back to exercise number 1. This is how we're going to approach this. Number 1. On retiring, before falling asleep, go over and retrospect the events of the day. Begin always with the events just before retiring and work back towards the beginning of the day. 2. As you consider each event, weigh it carefully. Judge yourself, your attitude at the time the event occurred, and at the time you were concentrating upon it. Number 3. Decide the right or wrong of your position, and if you find yourself to have been wrong, make it your imperative duty on the following day to rectify that wrong so far as it lies in your power to do so. By so doing, you will, in a large measure, assimilate the experience necessary for your soul to evolve. And even further, you will prevent the accumulation of karma or negative energy that may cause negative or unwanted consequences. Now, after you've reviewed your day's activities, perhaps you can devote some time and your thoughts to your plans for your next day. Dismiss everything that might still tie you to the present day and all the worries that burden you. Turn your last thoughts to the things that really give you inner joy, that give you peace, whether that is a pet, a friend, a relationship, your favorite place to be, whatever that might be to you. If you wish to read a few lines of poetry or scripture or a book, the last thing on your mind should always lead to greater harmony or a higher attunement in consciousness. This exercise may sound easy to do, But you will often find that you have entirely neglected this exercise one evening or another, or you will try, so to speak, to file away at night all disagreeable and unpleasant thoughts. But just then they will return for a stronger attack and torture you. Simply imagine the thoughts as servants who have been dismissed for the night and turn to more enjoyable pursuits and thoughts, which may then be dismissed as well. This little way around may prove to be the simpler way. If you find yourself having problems remembering the events of the day, start by putting in order the things you can remember. As you remember different things about the day, then you'll start to remember other things about the day. And as you begin to remember, it's like a puzzle. Put these puzzle pieces in the right place in the order in which they happen throughout the day. You'll find as you do this, you'll get better and better at it, and you'll be able to just pick a spot in the day to be the center of the puzzle and work around it. And then you'll be able to go from the end of the day all the way backwards to the beginning. The return to the divine. In the following lessons, you will hear a lot about the return, or the return to the divine. How is the return to God to be done? The first step is to strive after obtaining of God consciousness by attuning with or aligning our consciousness with God through what is known as practicing the presence. Practicing the very presence of God. You may ask, what is practicing the presence of God? Practicing the presence of God is constantly dwelling on the thought of God, constantly dwelling on what you consider God to be, constantly dwelling on the attributes of God, beauty, purity, and love, constantly striving to manifest in your life these attributes and all that you understand God qualities to be. It is not what we know, but rather what we are that matters. Spirituality, if it is to be of any value at all, must be manifested on the physical plane. The characteristic we attribute to God, dignity, nobility, loftiness of character, moral excellence, honesty, integrity, charity, uprightness, grace, and many, many others, must be incorporated in your life. You must become them. You must become the very qualities of God. These are the qualities that must become actualized and manifested in you. These God qualities must be made evident in your attitude and in your relations with others. They must be evident in your speech, in the way you express yourself, the way you see yourself, in your actions, in your opinions, in all manners of behavior. This exercise, as you can see, cannot therefore be a 5-minute routine to be brought about first thing in the morning, like brushing your teeth and then forgetting until the following day. This exercise must become a way of life, a principle to live by, a habit, an addiction. It is essential that you set aside a short period of your day, every day, for study and meditation. You have to realize that just as you devote a part of the 24-hour cycle to eating, sleeping, exercise, work, interaction with family, playing video games, and so forth, so too must you also devote a portion of the time to study and meditation. Give some of your time to yourself. This is the greatest gift that you can give yourself. Many times we can't be without noise. We always have to have something going on in the background, something to distract us so that we are not alone with ourselves. People are afraid to be alone with themselves. Many people cannot stand to be alone with themselves. It's not so much that they're lonely. They don't know how to be with themselves. So give some of your time to yourself. Tell your family. You need 10 or 15 minutes a day, privacy. Turn that phone off. Close your door. This is the most important work of your life. You give so much time to everyone else. This is for you. And it will benefit everyone else. Because if you're not in the right place in your life, what good are you to those around you? Sometimes you have to be selfish. You have to give to yourself before you can give to others. Sometimes you have to work on yourself before you can help others work on themselves. Sometimes you have to love yourself before you can love others properly. Remember, Life is lived from the inside out, and not the other way around. It won't be long before you find out that as you meditate on the principles that will be shared with you, as you learn to look fearlessly at yourself, as you turn your thoughts within and look into your own being, as you strive to put the noble ideas, the personal genius, and higher ideas of the self to work in your life, change for the better is about to happen. Happiness, health, attainment, peace of mind, and miracles will happen in your life that you never thought possible. Such things do not happen to those who read the information, who study the books, who take it in like a newspaper and make no effect or effort to uplift their consciousness. You have to do the work. No one can do it for you. And you have to be brutally and rigorously honest with yourself if you want to obtain the very purposes of your life, your true will, what you were born into the universe for, in the time and place you were born. Well, that's all the time that we have today for teaching. Please let us know at the War of Roses Network what you like and don't like about this program. Our question to the audience today is how long do you think the broadcast should be? Would you like it broken down into smaller 15-minute segments, or is about a half an hour show good enough to keep your attention span, or would you like to see longer programs? Please let us know. This is your host, D.D. Hash, and you are listening to the 770 Show on the War of the Roses Network. Freedom worldwide. Here is the founders with frontman, Master Mark Passio. Stand and fight.
No surrender, no retreat, no quarter.